Welcome in to the Week 11 Start Sit Show. Joined, as always, by my co-host, Ryan Mackey, who you can find on Twitter at Mackey_FFB. And I am your other co-host, Jeremy, who you can find on Twitter at PopesFFH. Ryan, it's Week 11. We're here. Bills are in a must-win, along with a lot of other
must-win.
However, no one needs a win more than my fantasy teams. So, Ryan, how's it going?
Not too bad, man. I had to go help my mom out a little bit with some stuff real quick this morning, so that's why we're running a little bit late today. So my apologies to anybody that cared about that. But other than that, man, I'm just excited to watch some football and some interesting storylines going on this week. So I'm anxious to see how it all unfolds.
What are these interesting storylines that you speak of?
I mean, Cam Newton coming back, being the starter in Carolina is an interesting storyline in a favorable matchup against Washington. I'm curious to see if if he in particular is able to be fantasy viable this week. I think A.J. Dillon, seeing what he can do in a full work for the first time in his second season, curious to see how that plays out because I feel like he's been extremely effective even with Aaron Jones in the lineup. So I'm anxious to see what kind of workload he's going to see today. And there was one other one. Oh, yeah. It's not interesting, but it's kind of funny. With Tim Doyle getting the start for Detroit, I didn't know that he has a losing record in college, and B, he had to transfer from an FBS school to an FCS school and still had a losing record his senior year. And somehow he is in the NFL getting ready to start a game in Cleveland today. So I'm kind of curious to see how that plays out, see if there's any reason why he should be in the NFL or if he's just there because he knows how to talk his way onto a roster.
Talk his way onto a roster. Wow. Let us know how you really feel, Ryan.
I mean, honestly, how many quarterbacks do you think are in the league? I mean, I don't know off the top of my head, but how many guys in the league do you think have a losing college record?
I don't know. Probably a good portion.
Probably one. Probably Tim Doyle.
I doubt it. I think it's probably more than that if you really broke it down.
There's
some bad college teams out there.
I don't know.
Talented players. It'd be an interesting thing. Maybe next week you can look it up and let us know.
I might actually because if he wins this week, I will. If he starts and plays a full game and wins this week, I will do the extensive research to find out if anybody else has a losing record in college or if it's just him.
I feel like it wouldn't be too extensive. Well, I guess if you're going past starters, yeah, it would be pretty extensive.
Yeah.
Let's touch on some of those real quick before we get some questions in here. Cam Newton. What do we think? Do we think Cam Newton sparks that Carolina offense? Do you think Robbie Anderson can find his way to fantasy viability again? Do we hope or see DJ Moore kind of emerge into what we thought he was going to be this season? Or do we just kind of see a lot of the same and you see Cam Newton vulturing touchdowns from CMC?
I honestly, sorry, I was trying to find my thing. My mic's in the way. Honestly, I expect the offense to be better. I feel like having Cam to have to game plan for a little bit with his rushing ability makes that offense a little bit more threatening to defenses. And like I said, especially against this defense in Washington that's been very bad in terms of fantasy production to just about everybody outside of their middle of the road to running backs and tight ends. But in terms of wide receivers and quarterbacks, they're last or second to last. So it's a good matchup for him to walk into to see if he still has anything left. And I mean, I think he went like 3 for 4 last week and had 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 throwing. So he obviously has that nose for the end zone still. So I think it's going to make the offense better. But I mean, we did see Sam Darnold have stretches where he was very fantasy viable. So and made that offense honestly hum for a little while, and then CMC got hurt, and it all kind of fell off the rails from there. But I think they'll be better. I'm still kind of out on Robbie Anderson, but Cam Newton could be what puts him back on the fantasy map.
Yeah, I'm not ready to like preach that, hey, let's go grab Robbie Anderson.
No.
But if you do have an empty bench spot, or like you have an underperforming player in redraft that you don't necessarily love, or maybe one of these rookies that really hasn't hit yet, that has a pretty unfavorable schedule. I mean, Robbie Anderson might be a nice pre-week stash if you have the room, or maybe you have a guy who's out or a guy who's on COVID. Anderson could be a nice add because he could see an uptick. You know what I mean? And if he blows up, I think he'll be obviously a top waiver wire if he's available in your league. I don't know if he'll see many articles. I'm sure he's still rostered in a high percentage of leagues, but if he is available, he might not be a bad guy to add at the end of your bench if you got a guy out on COVID or just an out designated player. It might be worth it if they can be switched to your IR depending on your league format. Just because I think Cam brings a different, like, I think he will be able to more effectively run that offense. You know, like Sam Darnold kind of struggled and you saw it. I think Cam's not going to get as rattled as Sam Darnold did. Necessarily does he have the arm strength to maybe stretch the field? That we've yet to see. But he kind of had some of it last year in New England, so I don't doubt that he can't do that. So for right now, I'm kind of holding on Carolina. I'm not ready to like say that, oh, their offense is going to be amazing. I think Cam could be a viable quarterback at times. Their matchup today isn't great, so I'm not like sold on it just yet, but at least starting him this week. But I want to see it. I think he could become a very sneaky viable in Superflex, so I think he'll help that offense a lot. It might hurt CMC, though. Like I said, he might vulture some touchdowns.
He seems to be one of those guys that is in that position where you want to add him just to see how the targets play out, because he might end up he might out-target DJ Moore because maybe he has a better connection with Robbie Anderson, or the defense just forces the ball to Robbie Anderson, and he's one of those guys that produces well and they form a connection. So,
yeah.
If you have a guy that you're able to drop for him, or like you said, you're able to stash a guy in IR and pick him up to free up the roster spot to add him, then I would. He's only rostered 57% of redraft leagues right now, and I think he's only rostered in. I mean, he's probably still rostered in quite a few dynasty leagues. He's rostered 57% of that as well, so he's out there. So if you need wide receiver help, wide receiver depth, he might be a solid just in case add for this week. And then if he doesn't do anything this week, then you can probably drop him and you don't have to worry about it.
Facts. AFZ Chips, Gallup or Foreman, Ryan? I'll let you lead us off with the first question.
Ooh. I feel like with Cooper being out, I feel like I'm leaning Gallup here in what should be a super high-scoring game against Kansas City. Pretty sure they comfortably have the highest over/under of the week. That game is in Kansas City, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they're in Kansas City, but the weather's supposed to be nice, so game should be high-scoring, especially if they play how they did last week. I would expect to see a ton of points put up in that one. So I'm going to go with a higher scoring game here and go with Gallup. I do like Foreman this week against Houston, but I'm still going to take the upside of Gallup as opposed to Foreman, who's likely going to be splitting carries with AP anyways.
Yeah, I like that. I like both these guys. Like you mentioned, Deontay Foreman's a sneaky start. I feel like he's going to see a larger share of the carries. I'm not going to say he's a workhorse, but I think he sees the bulk of it. Peterson will be sprinkled in. But like you said, Ryan, I'm going to chase the upside here in Michael Gallup as a wide receiver 2. He's going to be that clear number 2 role. KC's secondary isn't the greatest. They're very average, but that game should be a shootout I anticipate it to be everything that they all hope to. It's America's Game of the Week there on Fox, so I'm all in on it. I like Michael Gallup. I think that they spread the field and they try to keep up with the Chiefs. They're not going to be able to slow them down, so I can anticipate that game definitely hitting around their over and under. So start to Jeff Wilson, Jalen Waddle, James Robinson, PPR. I had a question similar to this earlier on Twitter, and I still am leaning Jeff Wilson as at least one of these starts. I like Jeff Wilson, especially because Elijah Moore, I don't think he's been ruled out yet, but he was doubtful coming in. I'm sure he's not playing. And we saw what Jeff Wilson did with a bulk workload last season. We know he's a very talented running back. He runs that scheme there for the 49ers very well. He fits it. His speed, his vision, his abilities are still all there. We kind of saw it in a small dosage against the Rams. So I like it. And then for me, I'm probably going to take it's tough because James Robinson's matchup isn't great. I'll probably take Jalen Waddle. I feel like the upside for Jalen Waddle is just a lot bigger. Tua is starting, so I'm going to take the upside there with Jalen Waddle. James Robinson is going to be a safe play, but Jalen Waddle's still the lead guy there for them this week outside of Mike Gesicki. So I'm going to take Jeff Wilson and Jalen Waddle and kind of shoot the upside of this. I think J-Rob's a safe start, but I think there's more upside in Wilson and Waddle. How about you, Ryan? You can disagree.
See, I love the upside of Waddle against the Jets. They're obviously the Jets have been not good defensively, to say the least, but they are giving up the 11th fewest points to wide receivers on a per game basis right now, for season long, anyways. So, I think
teams get up on them so early; they just run the ball. That's
right. So, I think I still like the volume play of J-Rob. I feel like before the injury, he was seeing at least 18 touches in every single game, or 18 opportunities in every single game. So, I'm going to take the volume upside of J-Rob, even though it is a tough matchup. And then I am going to start Jeff Wilson against Jacksonville this week. Run first offense. Like you said, he has shown that he can be a very capable fantasy asset. So I'm going to go with Wilson and the volume play at J-Rob there. I just think if Waddle does get involved and is enough to be started over J-Rob, it's going to have to be on just one big play that's not guaranteed. I just don't know if you'll see enough volume. A game that Miami should be winning comfortably. I just don't know if he sees enough volume to start him over a guy like J-Rob, who's guaranteed to see 15-plus touches at least.
Did you just say Miami should be winning comfortably?
Against the Jets?
I'm just saying. The Jets have been good. Don't just think that because the Bills spanked them. They haven't been good. They were in it with Indy. They were in it with the with a team that's 5.
They're starting Joe Flacco.
Your point. They were starting Mike White and Josh Johnson.
At this point, do you think either of those guys are comfortably better than Joe Flacco?
No. Just saying. Obviously, they're starting him over them.
Only because he has experience against Miami, which is weird because he's never played this coaching staff before.
That was their excuse. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Greg the Leg or the Browns kicker? Who the Browns have?
Lions.
I'm actually going to take Greg the Leg. I think that he still plays with Dallas, right? I'm not going crazy here. Yeah, I think there's there's obviously going to be more points scored in that game than Cleveland and Detroit, so he'll have those extra points. But I also can see Kansas City and stopping Dallas a little bit more than Detroit's going to stop Cleveland. So I think there might be more field goal opportunities for Dallas than Cleveland. in my personal opinion. I feel like if it's going to be like Cleveland, Detroit could either be like Bills, Jags a couple weeks ago, or it's going to be like the Bills beat the Jets. I think, Cleveland's either going to pound them or it's just going to be tight and messy. Like I don't know. I like Greg the Leg. I think that there's just going to be more opportunities for points scored there, like a more safer points scored, as well as a bigger opportunity to kick more field goals. I could be wrong. I'm not the greatest kicker predictor, so just saying. Sorry, Justin.
See, I get the argument for Greg Leg because I feel like there is going to be a ton of points scored in that game. But I think this boils down to if I think Detroit is going to be able to stop the Browns from getting into field goal range, and I'm not comfortable with saying that.
I mean, Detroit's defense is pretty good. I know, we like to knock on them, but I mean, they were in it with multiple teams all year and good teams. You know what I mean? They're not bad. They're bad. I mean, they're 0-7-1, or 0-8-1, whatever they are. And I mean, they're not great, but it's mainly that offense that's just so bad. Their defense has actually been pretty good. I mean, they give up some fantasy points, but they've been pretty good. I mean, they've been in games. So I feel like they're going to stop them.
The weakness of the Lions' defense is the strength of the Browns' offense, and that's running the ball. They give up. Yeah. They're bad against the run. The Browns love to run the ball, and I just don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of. I'm not sure there's going to be a whole lot of field goals in the Dallas game. I feel like I was listening to, I think it was Good Morning Football or whatever it was this morning, and Dallas's offensive coordinator Kellen Moore came out and said that they are going to look to be aggressive, go for it a lot on fourth down. So if they get into those 4th and 1, 4th and 2 situations, you might see them go for a little bit more, which might lead to a little bit less field goals. But with that being said, they are calling for some rain in Cleveland today, so that might affect how they go. So I'll take Greg the Leg here, but I don't think you can really go wrong with either one.
Fair. Does he stack Tua and Waddle, or does he start Ryan Tannehill? Personally, I'd probably stack Tua. I think that game gets a little bit, although Ryan thinks that the Dolphins are going to be winning handily, I think that game's a lot closer than the Tennessee-Houston game will be. And I kind of like Tua. There's a thing about it this week. I just kind of feel like he might have a big week. So I'm going to take Tua with Waddle over Ryan Tannehill, personally. Now, if you would have asked me this 3 months ago, I would have been like, well, Ryan Tannehill, duh. But it's just been one of those years for Ryan Tannehill. So I'm all right with it. I'd risk it with Tua, I think. This week, at least.
See, this one's tough for me because I feel like with how underperforming Miami secondary has been, I feel like Houston's game might get a little more shootout-ish.
Until Deontay Foreman goes for 25 carries, 150, and 2 touchdowns.
But then why don't you start Foreman over Gallup?
I'm just saying. It's my bold prediction. He blows up.
See, it's tough because Tannehill's been pretty steady last few weeks. Just looking back at his stats, he's had at least 27 pass attempts the last 5 weeks, which should serve as a pretty solid floor for him. And having a guy like A.J. Brown on the field isn't the worst thing in the world for a quarterback. So if you're gonna start Waddle, I believe you asked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you're gonna start Waddle, I would stack Tua with Waddle, because if you expect Waddle to have a big day, that means you're expecting Tua to have a big day as well, or at least a solid day. So that's how I would play. If you're starting Waddle, I would start Tua. If not, I would start Ryan Tannehill and take the baseline of 25 plus pass attempts.
I still think it's Tua. I don't know. I love Ryan Tannehill. I don't hate him. I just feel like I like Tua this week against the Jets. I think that game, as much as you don't want it to be, I think that game turns into a shootout. I do. I really do. I just think both teams are going to be battling for that bottom of the AFC supremacy. So I just feel like just saying. I don't want to be last. That's what they're going to say.
Yeah, that's true.
Idon has start 2, Bateman, Lockett, Jeff Wilson, Brandon Ayuk.
Oof.
So here's where I'm at with Rashad Bateman this week. I love him. I will forever. The only thing I'm worried about is if Lamar doesn't play. I don't know if I haven't seen anything stating that he should be playing or isn't playing. I think it's all just depends on how he feels because he's been sick. They've been saying it's an illness. And I haven't seen anything this morning ruling it either way or hearing it's leaning either way at the moment. So if Lamar plays, I am starting Rashad Bateman in all confidence. If not, I would probably pivot to Tyler Lockett and Jeff Wilson. I don't know if I'm ready to really just keep throwing Brandon Ayuk out there just yet. I don't know. They have the Jags, though. It's a pretty good matchup. Yeah, I think it's going to be, for me, it would be Bateman and Jeff Wilson. If Lamar doesn't play, I'd go Lockett and Jeff Wilson. Ryan, you're on the clock.
See, for me, I'm kind of torn here because I think that Seattle-Arizona game is all up to if Kyler Murray plays or not. If Kyler Murray plays, he's out. I haven't seen that this morning, so I don't know if he. Last time I saw, he was questionable.
Yeah, he's out.
Okay.
I saw it this morning.
So that game, Arizona's been tough against wide receivers. I was gonna say if Kyler plays, I would start Lockett and take the upside that he possesses in games that are higher scoring. But if Kyler isn't playing, I just don't expect Arizona to be able to make that a game where they have to throw the ball. So I'm going to agree with you. If Lamar starts, I'm starting Bateman. And then Jeff Wilson, I'm starting regardless just because of that offense and how they run and the workload he's projected to get. And then I just don't like starting Brandon Ayuk when Debo and George Kittle are in the lineup. Like I really don't like doing it. So I would go with Lockett and Jeff Wilson there as well if Lamar can't play. But if Lamar plays, I'm starting Bateman. I know Lamar is taking the late bus to the stadium. I did hear that. So he's going to be one of the guys that are probably announced later, as late as possible. And I feel go or not. But if he plays, I like Bateman a lot this week.
Yeah, and it's not that I don't trust Bateman. I just don't trust the quarterbacks behind Lamar to get him the ball, personally. So, what's up, Ryan N? How's it going? Bennett has Thielen, Bateman, Davonte Smith, or CEH as a flex. See, with this lineup, I'm rolling. I'm out on CEH. Just for now until we see what that backfield looks like. Darrell Williams has earned enough carries that it could get real messy. So I kind of want to see that. Today will be a good test against Dallas. I think you'll be able to see what they're kind of thinking and how that backfield's going to look. Devonta Smith has had a good couple weeks, and I don't want to sit him. New Orleans does scare me a little bit. Their secondary is actually giving up a lot of points to wide receivers, though, as far as fantasy goes. So I wouldn't hate starting Devonta Smith here. I just worry on Jalen Hurts and that front four from New Orleans getting pressure. But for me, I'm probably just going to roll Devonta Smith. Bateman's close, like I said, just like with our last explanation. If Lamar plays, I would possibly think about going Bateman over Davonte Smith. But I'm kind of out on Thielen. Green Bay secondary's been really good, even without Jair Alexander. They've just been really good defensively all around. So I'm kind of just like a little bit out on Thielen. I think that game gets a little tough for Kirk Cousins in the passing game. So, yeah, I think I'm just going to roll Devonta Smith here. I feel like he's proven that the upside's there, and he's just gone out and he's balled against some tough secondaries in Denver. And who did they have the week before?
Chargers.
Yeah. So 2 secondaries that were pretty good, and he put up crazy points. So for me, I think I'm just going to roll Devonta Smith here and not think twice. Ryan?
Yeah, I think I agree. Green Bay secondary has been solid, surprisingly, without Jair Alexander, and they also get another corner back as well. I can't remember who it was, but they do get another corner back. So that'll help should help their secondary a little bit. But my question is if that game gets higher scoring and Kirk Cousins is forced to throw the ball, Thielen is obviously still one of his favorite targets. But I'm going to take the upside of Devonta Smith, just what he's done lately. I sat him in a bad matchup last week against the Chargers, and I think it was last week against Chargers, and he put up a ton of points on my bench, and I wasn't very happy about it. So if he was able to do that against that secondary, I feel like he shouldn't have a problem against a Saints secondary that has given up a ton of points to wide receivers so far this year. So, like you said, it does concern me a little bit that pass rush is so good for New Orleans, but I feel like Devonta is talented enough and Jalen Hurts looks his way enough to be the play here.
Yeah, I mean, there's been no push from Jalen Reagor or really Quez Watkins to like take a lead role away. So I think Devonta Smith, if Sirianni wants to be smart about it, they'll at least scheme him to have a little bit of the shorter routes at times and be able to be that safety valve for Jalen Hurts if that pass rush gets there. So, yeah. Jared has Marcus Johnson, Nyheim Hines, or Schultz. For me, with no Amari Cooper and what should be a shootout, I'm taking Dalton Schultz here. It's not even really that close for me personally. Marcus Johnson looked pretty good last week, but it's been kind of like a Russian roulette for who that's going to be behind him. It's either Johnson, Chester Rogers. Like those guys kind of pop off every now and then. Westbrook was in there for out behind A.J. Brown. So, like, I don't want to play that game because it might not be Marcus Johnson this week. So, and Nyheim Hines against the Bills could be a sneaky play, but I think you see a big dosage of Jonathan Taylor this week against the Bills because they're going to want to try and run down the throat of that defense. That's just kind of where their weakness has been for years. This year they've been a little bit better, but we've seen them soften up over the last couple of weeks. So I think you see a big dose of Jonathan Taylor, not so much of Nyheim Hines, and they really try to keep that offense off the field. So Dalton Schultz to me just seems like he's got a touchdown in him this week without Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I'm probably going to roll with Dalton Schultz here as well. Seen at least 5 targets in all but 2 games so far this year. I feel like his workload is more secured than these other 2 guys are. Like you said, should be a high-scoring game against Kansas City. So I'm perfectly fine rolling with Dalton Schultz. Like you said, touchdown upside is also probably higher. So I'm going to go with Schultz as well.
I like it. Ryan, we're back. Got to start Hockenson with Tim Boyle at quarterback or Dan Arnold against the tough 49ers in PPR. What are we thinking? Okay, so Ryan, I actually have Dan Arnold starting in a flex spot as a second tight end this week. But I think that it's tough to sit TJ Hockenson, but TJ Hockenson with Jared Goff, who's not all that much better than Tim Boyle, has just been very meh. TJ Hockenson has been a real big disappointment at times this year as far as a fantasy asset goes. We really thought he was going to see a lion's share of that targets but he isn't getting that.
Is that pun intended?
Always. He has been kind of staying in the block more. It's just that offensive line's been getting decimated a little bit as far as pass blocking goes, and I feel like he's kind of just getting stuck in some blocking roles, and Jared Goff just never finds him. So the question is does Tim Boyle an upgrade from Jared Goff? Is he going to throw the ball more and not care as much as Jared Goff is? So there's definitely that question there. But Dan Arnold, for me, I think is a start. He's just seen too much target share, and Jacksonville feels like he's DJ Chark for some reason. So they're just feeding him. And as far as you have here with the concern with O'Shaughnessy coming back, I'm not worried too much. O'Shaughnessy's always been kind of a blocker. Dan Arnold splits out wide a lot, so he's more used as like a big slot receiver, kind of like the Gesicki's, Wallers, Travis Kelce gets used. So I'm not too worried there as far as O'Shaughnessy taken from Dan Arnold. But as sad as it sounds, I don't hate starting Dan Arnold over TJ Hockenson. But it's risky. I'll tell you that. I just think that Dan Arnold actually is safer to me. TJ Hockenson has a way higher ceiling, I think, but Dan Arnold's way safer. Brian?
Yeah, I personally like Dan Arnold quite a bit. I'm like you. I have a league where I'm starting him in a flex spot. He's seen at least 7 targets in 4 of the last 5 games, even against Buffalo and Indy. And even right when Tennessee started to get right, he still saw 8 targets against them as well. So I am going to take the almost surefire thing that's Dan Arnold's target share to starting Hockenson, who, even though, like you said, he was like a top 4, top 5 option going into the year. And he's seen a ton of targets before. Last week against Pittsburgh, we only saw 1. I kind of expect that same defensive game plan from Cleveland this week. So I expect them to tell Tim Boyle to find somebody else to beat you with other than TJ Hockenson, and then just kind of go from there. So I'm going to start Dan Arnold. I feel like he's a lot safer. Even in a tough matchup against the 49ers, they're still giving up 10 points a game to tight ends. And when you're a tight end, that's fantasy viable. So I'm going with Dan Arnold there.
I like it. Pick 2, Alex Collins, Dearness Johnson, Brian Edwards, Zach Ertz. You get an extra half PPR for tight end. Where are we at here, Ryan? You're welcome, Ryan. Other Ryan.
Did I hear correctly that Alex Collins missed practice earlier in the week? I know he practiced in full Friday. But
he's been battling an injury, though. I don't think it was really much of anything. I think it was just kind of like a limiting him a little bit through practice so that they didn't re-aggravate it.
So my other thing with Alex Collins is that they did come out and say that Rashad Penny should be more involved this week as he's starting to get back into the groove of things. So he kind of concerns me, even though I like the workload that he should see. Arizona is tough against running backs. Pretty sure they're I don't know. I guess they're middle of the road. I have it all mapped out, but they're middle of the road against running backs. But I just don't know what Rashad Penny's workload is going to look like as opposed to Alex Collins. I don't know, Jeremy, how do you feel about the upside of Brian Edwards at this point, given what he did last week?
Yeah, I mean, there's the upside. I think no matter what, Brian Edwards is always capped. It's just the offense, and I know they haven't really changed the offense a ton from what Gruden used to run, so they just like to target tight ends a lot. And then you have Hunter Renfrow, who's kind of been stealing all those underneath PPR like targets.
Mm-hmm.
I like the talent in Bryan Edwards. I just think that his ceiling is always going to be capped. I mean, he had a good week last week. That's about all I think you'll ever really see. You're going to see 4 to 5, maybe 7 targets, and he might hit the end zone with a couple deep shots in there. So there's upside, but his floor is like 0. You know what I mean? It's 0 or it's boom or bust in like the biggest way you can explain boom or bust to me with Bryan Edwards. So like for me here, if I'm picking 2, I'm probably taking Alex Collins and Zach Ertz, even without Kyler Murray, just because I think with that extra half PPR and the fact that DeAndre Hopkins is out against Seattle, who's been a little bit weaker against the run, you should see a lot of James Conner. But off of that, you could see some play action where I think you might see them target Zach Ertz a little bit more. So I like Collins. I know you said Penny. They said they were going to give Penny some run, but I like Alex Collins still. I think he's their quote-unquote lead. And I just don't like – I mean, Dearness Johnson should see some run, but I think it's going to be a lot of Nick Chubb. So that's where I'm at. I think Collins and Ertz for me, I feel safe here just because of how bad Bryan Edwards' floor is. You know, like he could literally give you a goose egg. And I wouldn't be surprised. Do you know what I'm saying? Like some people you get surprised, like, oh, my God, T.J. Hockenson gave me a goose egg. What the heck? But if Bryan Edwards gave me one, I'd be like, all right. I expected that.
Could have known.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't be utterly surprised.
See, I think I'm still going to roll with Alex Collins just because of the volume upside that he possesses. I'm kind of torn between Dearness Johnson and Zach Ertz, to be honest with you, because in that matchup against Detroit, I feel like Dearness is still going to see enough run to be flex viable. But Zach Ertz has seen a steady flow of targets. I think he's seen at least 5, even with Kyler being out, in every game that he's played for Arizona so far, if I remember correctly. I saw at least 4 in every game so far, even without Kyler being active. So, yeah, I think I'm going to roll with Alex Collins and Zach Ertz as well. The extra half PPR kind of sold me on it, and the target share that he gets, at least 4 targets, I think that's enough to get him to be more viable than these other 2 guys. But Brian, if you're chasing upside, Bryan Edwards is probably the guy to go outside of Alex Collins, just because he could have a big long touchdown and seal it for you. So I guess it just kind of depends on where you're at in your league currently. If you're playing against a New England defense or something like that, and they got your opponent a ton of points and you need to chase points, I'd go Bryan Edwards. But if you're sitting kind of even or comfortably ahead as of right now, you probably could start Zach Ertz.
I sadly feel like the upside is the same with Bryan Edwards and Zach Ertz, but I get it.
No, it can't be the same.
Yeah, it is.
No.
Yeah, they see the same amount of target shares. Both have the same amount of chances of scoring touchdowns. It's the same.
It's not the same.
It sounds terrible, but I feel like it's the same.
Minutes prior to kickoff, and I can't tell you.
Anyways, I think Austin's ready to come in soon. JM, Bateman, Thielen, or Higgins at flex, and then we'll bring Austin in.
See, this brings me back to if Lamar plays.
He's going to try and give it a go by the sounds of it, but it sounds like they're heavily inducing him with fluids. So it seems like he's pretty sick.
I'm just reading the update from Sleeper. He's arriving at the stadium soon. Sounds like he's really not himself.
Yeah.
We'll try to go, and they are working to keep him hydrated to play, but has been hit very hard by this virus. And Tyler Huntley would be the backup. So that doesn't sound great to me.
Maybe Austin can shed some light. We'll bring him in here. Austin, how's it going?
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
Doing well.
Miss y'all, man.
Missed you too. Oh wow, that doesn't even.
What were we talking about, Lamar?
Yeah, Ryan can't give me an answer, so we're gonna let you give me an answer.
No, I'm not answering. Bateman.
All right, so
JM's got Bateman, Thielen or Higgins at flex PPR, and Lamar sounds like he's quite sick.
Yeah, I will probably say that Lamar's 50-50, and I'm leaning towards him probably not playing. And this coming from a Ravens fan, so I don't think they're going to play.
I remembered that. That's why I brought you in.
Gotcha. So I don't think he's going to play, but I still will play Bateman, though. Marquise is out. You got Bateman and Sammy. I feel like they still are going to distribute the ball through the air. I think Chicago showed some vulnerability in their secondary during the Pittsburgh Steelers game. So I will still play with Bateman. I do expect Huntley to start today, though. So they're being very vague with his status, but putting him back on the injury report last night and then elevating Trace McSorley kind of indicates towards that Lamar's probably not going to play today.
It's fair.
Yeah, Justina Anderson just said as of 20 minutes ago, she was told Ravens quarterback status is up in the air, understanding that it's still not complete clear on what is causing Jackson's illness. So,
which is then that's more of a concern if they don't understand what is resulting in it, because he came to practice and then got worse. So that means they're also unclear about what's actually going on. So I don't, with that definitely being more uncertain of why or what his illness is from, then they probably would not play. They don't want.
Yeah, for me, with all this news in that situation, I mean, it's really a toss-up. I still don't hate Bateman. I think his ceiling's a little bit more capped, but I would coin flip it between Bateman and Higgins, whoever you trust a little bit more. I think that Raiders secondary is a little banged up. They're still playing pretty solid, but I think that game could be another one that you see multiple touchdowns scored. And I just like T. Higgins' upside there. Like I said, we mentioned it earlier, Ryan. Thielen against Green Bay isn't terrible, but Green Bay's secondary has been really good. Just defensively, they've made a big leap this year from last year. So I don't love it. And I just think Kurt might struggle a little bit against that. So I'm going to take Higgins. I think Joe Burrow has a better chance of at least feeding T. Higgins. He's seen a good target share as of late, even with Jamar Chase. So, Ryan, anything? You made up your mind yet?
Man, I don't know. It's really tough for me. I really can't definitively decide between Higgins and Bateman for me personally.
Is it just because of the injury to Lamar? If it wasn't Lamar, you would go with Bateman?
Yeah, if it was Lamar throwing to him, I would start Bateman just because of what he's done with him. Been super consistent in target share. So that's just kind of where I'm stuck at. I think I'm gonna go with Jeremy here and take the upside with Burrow and Higgins, even though it's somewhat of a tough matchup against Las Vegas.
Interesting. Because, I think I've watched the game, again, being a Ravens fan. I think Bateman's a very quarterback-friendly receiver. Very quarterback-friendly. I think he runs really good routes, man, and zone. I think he's one of two rookies that actually have a 75% or greater success rate against all coverages, double, single, zone, and man. So if you said him and Elijah Moore from the Jets, I had read that yesterday. So if you're able to do that consistently for 4 games, that means you're just a very, very quarterback-friendly receiver. And if Tyler Huntley is going to play, I would lean to him, using him a lot of intermediate routes, some of those short dump-offs. So it was particularly with Marquise out. So I just like Bateman in general. Like you said, obviously the upside is a lot greater with Lamar, but even with Tyler Huntley, I just feel like he's a very quarterback-friendly receiver. So
I agree. I think he is. I just worry about what Taylor Huntley is, but Bateman is. You're not wrong. He's a very good route runner. He gets open and he has glue-like hands. So
yes.
I can definitely agree with everything you have to say there. Michael Cap has Aaron Jones for Pitts, Gaskin, and Moss. Would you take the trade? So he's trading Aaron Jones, receiving Pitts, Gaskins, and Moss.
Dynasty, or what is this? I guess
his other tight end is Zach Ertz too.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, if you're there, please comment and let us know if this is Dynasty, and we will revisit Dynasty or redraft. Let's move to this. Michael Brown has pick 2, wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex. Ooh,
Hmm.
boy, we're getting a little bit. DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson, Bateman for the wide receivers. Running backs are Eckler, Zeke, Dylan, Monty, PPR league. Okay, quick, we'll go back to we can think about it. We'll think about it. We'll go back to the trade quick. Let's redraft. Okay. So Aaron Jones for Pitts, Gaskins, and Moss. Me, personally, no, if you have Zach Ertz. I do love Kyle Pitts, and I think that he's going to be a very good tight end in the league. I'm still holding Aaron Jones. I think that Aaron Jones' upside is much higher than Kyle Pitts each week. It's just safer and a little bit higher, even if A.J. Dillon kind of starts to see a little bit more target share. And I just think that the running backs you're going to plug in and Gaskin and Moss just aren't even close to Aaron Jones. So, like, what you might gain from Pitts to Ertz is nowhere near what you're going to see in a drop-off from Aaron Jones to Gaskin and Moss. So I'm holding Aaron Jones in that situation.
And even with Pitts right now, you've seen the offensive line woes for Falcons on Thursday. I mean, this is hard.
It's rough.
Matt Ryan, to even get in the rhythm, even get Pitts involved, which I know they're trying to, is just tough letting on offensive line right now. So I would definitely keep Jones as well. I would have to agree.
This, for me, strictly depends on if you need running back help like now. If you're in a position where you're there, like if you lose the next week or two, you're out of the playoff race and your depth is bad, I would probably do it just to see if you can make a run and maybe Gaskin keeps his volume up and he becomes viable. But if you are comfortably in the playoffs as of right now, like you're comfortably in the playoff picture, I wouldn't do it. But if you need the win and need the points this week, I think I would do it just so I can make a run. You're not going to have Aaron Jones for at least. Well, Austin, you're the injury guy. So how long do you think Aaron Jones is out for?
Yeah, actually, he was one on my list. So let me run down that really quick, but just to hit on him. So Kamara and Jones, because they're both similar injuries, are low-grade MCL sprains, which are very tricky just because of their positions where they really utilize a lot of their lateral agility and quickness, which the MCL helps stabilize the medial aspect of the knee. So a lot of times players will feel stiff or loose longer than originally hoped. So I would more target Jones for week 14. And then, like I said, Kamara probably questionable about week 12. So I wouldn't target Jones until probably about week 14. He's now on the IR, so that suggests it's a low grade. Still week to week, but since he wasn't able to return to practice, that lets me know that they're still concerned with a little bit of the laxity there in the MCL. So I would probably target Jones probably about week 14. So if that helps you out in your decision.
So, I mean, he's roughly 3 weeks out from returning. So
maybe 2. I mean, like I said, target 14. He's now on a short-term IR. That means there is some hope that maybe he can come back because that's the 3-game minimum. So that may be week 13, very hopeful. But like again, he didn't practice any this week. So for me to kind of ramp that kind of physical activity time up, ideally week 14, best case scenario week 13. Well,
they got a bye week 13. So
okay, then that's probably why. So 14 then for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, if you need somebody to get you in, and you think your team's good enough to, like, if your other options are better, especially like wide receiver, and you have the upside of Pitts at tight end, and you think that your wide receivers can carry you short of Jones, then I would do this if you think your team can survive and make the playoffs without Jones. But if you're in a position where you need the running back help and you need that to get into the playoffs, then I'm probably making the deal just so I can get in and hope that Gaskin and Moss can do more than what they've done recently. But that's just me. That's just kind of where I'm at with it. If I need the running back help now, I'd probably do it.
And it also matters too about who's his other running back. I feel like so. Depth. Yeah. If you have a pretty decent other running back in your roster, then maybe you can go for the waivers. Maybe there's a lot of injuries right now. Maybe you can square maybe connect another draft where you just get, like you said, a serviceable running back just to hold you off until Jones comes back.
Yeah, if you have the option that you can wait until Jones returns for the playoffs, then I think you're good. But if you need to make that push now in your team, you feel like your team's good enough as long as you have RB2 guys like Gaskin or flex guys like Moss, then you can survive and win the – you think you can still win your league with those guys, then I would make the deal because you need the points now.
Yeah.
Dark horse thing to look at, too, is who are you trading Aaron Jones to?
Yeah,
That's guy you're going to have to beat in the playoffs.
Very true.
Is he the bottom of the league guy or the top of the league guy? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So
I would assume it's got to be a higher tier guy because if the guy that's trading for him knows that he's going to be out and not going to have him, so he's probably trading him saying, hey, you can have – basically what I'm saying, you can have the points now, but I'm going to get Aaron Jones come playoff time, and now I have Aaron Jones and Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, and somebody else come playoff time.
He's making a sacrifice just for the playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good point, Jeremy. That's a fair point.
all right, back to our bigger question. Not bigger as in importance, but bigger, a bulk load of questions.
More in depth.
I think for me, it's gonna roll. For me, it will probably roll like your running backs. I'm gonna go. AJ Dillon is a start for sure. Zeke is a start for sure for me. So there's your two running backs. Wide receivers is got to be Metcalf for me. Johnson, I think, is a start, especially with Ben coming back. And then that's where it gets dicey. I like Keenan Allen, and I like Austin Eckler. Just the Pittsburgh matchup's really, really tough for an offense that's kind of been struggling as of late. They're still very high-powered, but they have struggled. So your flex is where I see like the hardest decision. I would probably say if I'm starting Dillon, Zeke, Metcalf, and Johnson, I would probably risk it with Keenan, with Austin Eckler. I was going to say Keenan Allen, but I feel like the secondary in Pittsburgh's probably better. And I don't really see that game really being a shootout. So I'm going to roll with Austin Eckler.
Well, Pittsburgh's missing Minkah Fitzpatrick and Joe Hayden, if I remember correctly. They're missing their two starting corners. So
They still got TJ Watt.
No, he's out.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. That's information I wish I had 1 minute ago. Still like Austin Eckler. Doesn't change my mind.
I mean, I'm starting Eckler regardless. I'm starting Eckler, Zeke, and Dillon. I'm starting those three, and then I feel like DK is a must start with Russell Wilson in the lineup, even though they had a bad week last week. I would still expect DK to bounce back, and then I'm going to take – it says it's PPR, so I'm going to take the PPR monster that is Deontay Johnson as well, even though that is a tough matchup in terms of cornerbacks for receivers. I'm still taking the guy that just gets peppered with targets every time Ben Roethlisberger's in the lineup. So that's what I'm going to roll with. I don't like bench Keenan Allen, but I like the PPR floor that Deontay possesses, and then the upside of DK Metcalf, and then your running backs, Eckler, Zeke, and Dillon. Honestly, with your running backs, you're probably safe to play any of those wide receivers. If you're playing those three, I feel like you're pretty safe for starting whoever, but I'm going to roll with DK and Deontay Johnson there.
All right. I'm going to go with the two receivers, Keenan Allen, Bateman. I like Bateman. I know he's a sleeper, but I like Bateman still. I might be a little homer, but whatever. I like Eckler and Dillon. I just feel like the Green Bay's running game is definitely, you can see, is taking a priority in their offensive scheme. And then I know Aaron Rodgers dealing with a toe injury. So we'll see how cautious he is with that, or how they are with that as far as the play calling. So I like Dillon coming in like a major RB1 role, filling in for Jones. I like Eckler, those two. And then one flex, I would probably have to go with Deontay, just because I like the targets. I like the target share he gets. And with the quick passing game of the Steelers, he's going to get his share. So Deontay will be my flex. Keenan Allen and Bateman will be my 2 receivers. And then Dillon and Eckler will be my running.
I like it. More Bateman. Good day for Rashad Bateman, Bateman, Mooney, Mike Williams to start 2. It's interesting. See, this is where I'm at. I always just keep wanting to say chase the upside of Mike Williams, but sadly feels like that's gone. But I think in this situation, I think I'm gonna take Mike Williams and Bateman. I don't love the matchup for Mike Williams, but I just don't know if I can. Darnell Mooney's had 2 good weeks in a row, but I just don't know if I can trust him yet in that offense. Who does Chicago have again? I don't have this. Yeah. I'll take Bateman and Mike Williams here. How about you guys?
I like Mike Williams a lot this week, especially with the Steelers defense being banged up. I think he kind of bounces back. We've seen his upside that he possesses. Being tied to Justin Herbert obviously helps. So I'm going to take the upside of Williams here. And then I saw somewhere, I think I was looking on lineups, that Darnell Mooney is top 12 in terms of team target share. So he's being targeted quite often. The problem is that Justin Fields doesn't throw a whole lot. But I'm curious to see what that offense looks like coming out of the bye. I'm pretty sure Allen Robinson is out for this one as well, if I remember seeing that correctly. Or Austin, I don't know if you have anything on that, but I want to say he was out.
Who?
Yeah, he's doubtful. He's doubtful to play. So I'm gonna roll with Mooney and Mike Williams here.
Okay. Yeah, Allen's probably not gonna play. His hamstring injury. Yeah, he was doubtful. I don't even think he practiced all week, so he is definitely not gonna play. I'm gonna go with Mike Williams, like you said. It's just, oh my goodness, he's always one. He's on my fantasy. I got him on both my fantasy teams, so my majority of my big league ones. I like Bateman, like I said. I've been talking about him all day. And then I'm gonna go with Mooney as well, just from this. And again, I'm being a homer. The Ravens have given up a lot of explosive plays. I mean, I think we lead the league in giving up plays over 50 yards or greater. So with Mooney and his big playability and his explosiveness, I would not be surprised if there's a big play or two coming from Mooney. So I'm going for the upside from the explosiveness, just knowing how our defense has been over the course of the season. So I'm going to go with Bateman and Mooney. And the main reason for Mooney is just for the explosive ability. I feel like he's going to have a couple of explosive plays against the Ravens.
All right, cool.
Couple injury updates. Looks like James Jones is active and Elijah Mitchell is expected to be inactive today. So he probably will not be going. And then, like I said, I just read that Lamar is still struggling with hydration. And that's 2 hours before game time. So now I'm almost certain he will not be playing. If you cannot, if your hydration levels are struggling, you cannot keep your electrolytes level an hour and a half before you're about to play a very strenuous game of physical activity, then you're probably not going to play. So if you have Lamar Jackson, it's probably about 75% certain he will not play. Yeah.
Did you mean James Robinson, Austin?
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. Yes, James Robinson.
I just want to make sure.
I was going to say James Jones.
Yeah,
back in time, baby.
Old school name. Yeah, James Robinson. Yes, he is active today.
Mooner N has bench 1, Bateman, Thielen, McLaurin, Higgins. Man, I'm probably benching Thielen here. I think McLaurin just sees enough of a target share to overtake Thielen for me in this situation. For me, I'm in on Bateman and Higgins this week as at least viable flex starts. And then Thielen, I mean, he could have a big week. I just don't like his chances. I prefer McLaurin to Thielen, so that's where I'm at here. You guys?
Yeah, I'm benching McLaurin as well. Yeah, Panthers have a really good defense on the road. I think they're going to play inspired. You know, you should see the city. I just left downtown. I mean, for Ron to come back and Cam's first start, I feel like it's going to be a very, very, very high energy. It's going to be sold out here. People are already like tailgating, flooding the streets. So I expect the Panthers D just to be a very emotional and very, very impactful in defense. So I'm not riding with McLaurin. So just from the energy from the city, I would think the Panthers are going to come out and play really, really strong today. So I'm benching McLaurin.
Ooh, dicey.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hate it as sad as it sounds, but
I mean, because look, if the Panthers can get up for Ron Rivera coming back and Cam's first start, then if they don't like show a very like emotional and have a lot of drive and passion for this game, they're not going to have it. So I'm just going to roll the dice and say this is going to be the game where they, bring everything. And
yeah, Stephon Gilmore also has something to say about Terry McLaurin. So
yes.
But I'm still taking Thielen. But
yeah,
yeah, I think I'm gonna side with Austin here and bench McLaurin.
I don't.
Carolina's given up the second fewest points in PPR to wide receivers, only allowing 29 points per game in PPR. They're also only allowing 11 catches a game to wide receivers. So, and like Austin said, I do feel like that team's going to be fired up. The crowd's definitely going to be into it. I knew that just because of Cam being back. And their defense has been really good just all year for the most part. They've kept them in basically every game that they've been in for the most part. So I'm going to roll McLaurin here in terms of benching. I know Bateman probably isn't going to have Lamar, but with Marquise Brown being out, he's still going to be the number one target for Tyler Huntley. So I would go there. Bateman might be number 2 behind Mark Andrews, but he's going to at least be 1 or 2. So for me, it's McLaurin in a really tough matchup against Carolina.
All right, fair. I respect it. Pick 2 PPR. Adam has Brandon Cooks, Hunter Renfrow, Michael Gallup. Adam, for me, it's going to be Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup. I know Renfro's a pretty safe PPR guy, but I just like what I think Cooks should see a good target share against Tennessee, who's been weak against wide receivers, and then Michael Gallup should be in what should be a shootout in Kansas City.
I would agree for both reasons. Cooks is wide receiver 1 all day when you talk about targets, and then like you said, it's going to be a shootout with Chiefs and Cowboys together.
Ryan?
Yeah, clean sweep here. Brandon Cooks. Tennessee's given up 46 points a game to wide receivers in PPR. And then Gallup in that shootout with Kansas City. I want every significant part of that offense in that game, or any offense in that game I want significant pieces of. So I'm going to take Cooks and Gallup as well.
Like it. Casey has bench 1, Jeff Wilson, Josh Jacobs, Dearness Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah. Dearness Johnson for me. The other 2 seem to be clear leads today. Not clear. I mean, Josh Jacobs sometimes with Kenyon Drake, but 2 higher volume guys. Dearness Johnson, though, could see some run in the second half if they get up early. I mean, they might just take a little bit off of Nick Chubb, but I feel like he has the less likelihood to see as many carries as Jeff Wilson and Josh Jacobs. So I'd say Dearness Johnson here.
Same here. Sweet, be earnest.
Sweet.
Just from the standpoint of just Chubb, I feel like he's going to take majority of those carries today.
It's the easiest one of the day for me right there.
Right?
Yeah, it was.
Pittman, Gallup, or Bateman Standard League?
Ooh.
This one's a tough one. Well, I've been a homer all day, and I feel like I'm not going to switch it. Even though Gallup, I really like the Gallup pick. I'm still going with. I'm gonna still go with Bateman, but that's close.
Think Bateman gets in the end zone?
I'm probably doing a little bit of homer there, but I like Gallup for sure. But I'm still gonna go with Bateman, man. I feel like today is gonna be the day that he's really gonna explode. I feel like he's gonna get a touchdown today. Any chance he has, I think he's gonna be today. And like I said, I think the Bears are probably gonna stuff the Ravens on deep on the running game. The running game just hasn't been good. I mean, the running backs for the Ravens are struggling. They're a little older. Offensive line has had no, consistency with the injuries. So I just feel like, I think even with a backup in there, I still think they're going to have to move the ball, throwing the ball. So I still like Bateman.
See, for me, this is tough because Bateman has as good a chance as any to score a touchdown today, but I mean, when you look at what I know, the matchup's tough, but what Michael Pittman's done the last handful of weeks, he's got 5 touchdowns in 5 weeks.
You get T.Y. Hilton back this week. Well, they got him back last week, so he is playing again this week. Just so you know, in case you didn't know.
I think I'm going to go with Gallup here just because of it, just for the higher scoring upside of that game. Like, I feel like they're going to have multiple guys score touchdowns here. I wouldn't be surprised if Gallup, CD, and Dalton Schultz all score a touchdown this week. Yeah, any decision like this where I have 3 guys that I feel like could score a touchdown, I always just take the higher scoring game, and I feel like that's going to be the Dallas and Kansas City game. So I'm gonna roll with Gallup here.
I agree. I'm just looking for touchdowns here, and I think Gallup gets it. I think even if Bateman has a big day, I think Mark Andrews gets the touchdowns as well as Devonta Freeman. So that's where I'm at. And I don't expect the Colts to score touchdowns through the air against the Bills. I anticipate that to be on the ground with Jonathan Taylor. So
they're not scoring any touchdowns today.
That would be great, but I know that's not going to happen. So start or sit question. Start 2 in full PPR. Osiris has James Robinson, A.J. Dillon, Michael Carter. Oof. It's a good problem to have, eh?
It is.
A.J. Dillon to me feels like a lock. That offense is just so good. And his workload's going to be huge, and he's been a beast. So I'm going to roll with him. I think in that increased workload, it's not going to hurt him. He does well in the passing game as well, so you're not going to see him get spelled necessarily for that. Also, behind him is, like, we talked about it on Tuesday's show, Ryan. Like, it's James Patrick, I think is who we came up with, wasn't it? Like, it's a guy that highly unlikely has seen many touches in the NFL or much run. So I think it's a lot of A.J. Dillon without much spelling.
Patrick
Taylor. I'm going to take Michael Carter. He's been really good lately, especially in PPR. He's going to see that PPR upside. Joe Flacco is going to check it down. He's not going to necessarily stretch the field a ton. I think that he's not going to scramble either. So if they start to get some pass rush, he's going to be looking to those backs or Jamison Crowder, those types of players. So I'm going to chase that upside there in the PPR league. He's been fairly consistent the last couple of weeks. And James Robinson was still questionable coming into the game. I know he's playing, but I like that better than James Robinson against the 49ers with a possibly injured leg. So,
A.J. Dillon is definitely a lock, for sure. So that's definitely, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a clean sweep after Jeremy gets on. But I know Flacco's starting today. And with the blitz-heavy scheme that the Dolphins kind of utilize, I would expect Michael Carter to be heavily involved in the passing game. Again, kind of a bit of a homer, but I've watched Flacco for years, and he loves the backs out. He loves the backs. He loves to check downs. That's why him and Ray Rice was so successful early in his career there. So I think Flacco is going to lean heavy on Michael Carter, particularly as a pass catcher. again, as the Dolphins, again, employ that blitz-heavy scheme. So for me, just from the perspective of running and then also being a high-volume pass catcher, I'm going to say Michael Carter will be my second one. And like you said, 49ers defense looks like they're playing really inspired football right now, particularly how they shut down the Rams on Monday night. So I'm definitely going to have to go with just the better matchups, as far as upside matchups with Michael Carter there. So, but A.J. Dillon's definitely a lock.
Yeah, and the Rams are a good run team, and you saw Darrell Henderson have struggles. And the Jags offensive line is nowhere near the Rams offensive line. So I'm not sold on. I love James Robinson's opportunity share, but just Michael Carter's been so good in PPR, and it's an easier matchup. So that's what.
And like I said, Flacco loves the backs out. Like literally, a lot of his career, he leaned on the backs out as receivers. So I think it's a good game for him from a receiving standpoint.
Ryan.
Yeah, AJ Dillon's definitely the lock. I'm just really torn between the volume-based play of Robinson or the check down upside of Michael Carter.
But I mean, Michael Carter's also carrying a ton of the carries. You know what I mean? So like, there's the check down upside, but he is still seeing a bulk load of the rushing upside. You know,
he is
the last couple of weeks for sure.
But he only scored in junk time last week against Buffalo.
The whole game was junk time, Ryan.
And then I know, but I mean, he scored in like 4 minutes left in that game or something like that. Like it wasn't anything.
Okay, let's be honest though. It's the Bills defense. We're talking the Bills or the Dolphins defense. Come on.
No, I get that, but Michael Carter's snap shares dropped last 4 weeks, 4 straight weeks.
Interesting.
Kids are just walking downstairs. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, there's another one coming. There goes.
What is happening? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna
You're fine.
I'm gonna go with AJ Dillon, and I will take the risk on Michael Carter as well, just because of the matchup. I like the volume of James Robinson, but I'll take the matchup side of Michael Carter.
Interesting. You think Michael Carter's a risk? That's different. That's interesting. To me, the risk out of those, out of Michael Carter and James Robinson, I would say the higher risk is Robinson personally.
I only say that because of the snap share. Like I don't know where that snap share is going because I haven't seen the games much, and I haven't really looked into why his snap share is decreasing. But it has been
Ty Johnson.
And yeah, I mean Ty Johnson is involved. Will you guys get out of here?
It's all good.
Anyways, yeah, that's the only reason why I'm saying if Ty Johnson does get more involved, because he's been efficient as well, he's been productive as well. So I don't think James Robinson has that threat. I don't think Carlos Hyde is a threat that Ty Johnson is to the workload of him. So that's just kind of where I'm at. That's the only reason why I think he's more of a risk than James Robinson is.
I mean, I could see it. I'm not like sold on saying it totally, but I could see it. I just like Michael Carter. I think he's been doing well. I think he's got good upside. Soto Burr, 24. Jimmy G or Justin Fields? I think I'm going to take Justin Fields here. I think even though he's playing Baltimore, I think he has a decent day. I don't think he's going to be like a top 12 quarterback, but I think he'll finish as a QB2 this week. I like the rushing upside there. Feels a little safer than Jimmy G. I know he only has the Jaguars, but we've seen the Jaguars play pretty well against certain teams this year. So I'll risk it with Fields. I think the rushing upside and the touchdown upside is a little bit higher there for him.
Yeah, I would agree. I definitely like Fields. Again, they're going against my boys, but man, on a defensive standpoint, the Ravens have been really poor this year. Like I said, getting up a lot of explosive plays. I think they gave them out the most, like I said earlier, the most 50-yard or greater plays this year. So I think Fields is going to have some success running the ball, and also I think particularly like breaking containment, maybe getting some like broken plays down the field. So I definitely will have to ride with Fields as well, just for the upside there. I think it's still going to be tough sledding for him just because, our scheme for the blitz scheme is going to be very difficult for him to probably process. But I still think the explosive plays is going to be there. So I'm at the roll with Fields as well.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Fields as well. I just like the overall upside that Fields possesses. He's been playing better as of late. He didn't look great against San Francisco and Tampa, but looked pretty solid against Pittsburgh. I know he's thrown at least one interception in the last 4 games, but coming off the bye, I expect he would be a little bit more prepared, a little bit more game plan ready. So I think Fields has a pretty solid day today, so I'm going to go with Justin Fields as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a tough matchup, but I think he does all right. So I'm in Justin Fields for me. We'll answer this one quick. Dirty Money has Dan Arnold or Dalton Schultz this week. I'm going to take Schultz. I think the touchdown upside's a little bit higher there. I don't hate Dan Arnold. I think he's going to be just involved and see his targets that he's been getting weekly. But Dalton Schultz with no Amari Cooper, no Blake Jarwin, in what is forecasted to be a pretty shootout type style game, is too good to pass up for me. So, any of you guys different?
No, Schultz. No. Just like you said, red zone. He's probably going to be a very, very high red zone target. And I like that upside in a high shootout game. So I would definitely have to go with Schultz as well, just from the touchdown upside.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So we got Ray Gamer here. He has a couple questions. So we'll start with Gesicki versus the Jets or Dawson Knox versus the Colts standard.
I know y'all. What's going on with your boy Dawson Knox, man? He been up and down this year with the boys. What's up, man?
He's always
y'all about him. I mean, but like
he was bad until this year. What are you talking about?
But he was hot this season, though. Like the beginning, I was thinking he was going to turn the corner. I'm like, okay. And I had him in a couple of leagues too. Yeah, that was
he broke his hand. So
yeah. Last week was his first game back after breaking his hand. So, I mean, in terms of a matchup, the Colts matchup is not scary at all when it comes to tight ends. They average almost 17 points a game given up to tight ends, and then the Jets allowed just under 14 points a game to tight ends. And after what Gesicki did to me last week, I don't want to start him. So I'm going to start Dawson Knox if I'm in the situation after he goes 0 for 7, after Gesicki goes 0 for 7 last week. So I'm going to roll with Dawson Knox. I feel like Gesicki might have more PPR upside, but Dawson Knox probably has higher touchdown upside.
Yeah, it's tough. I had Gesicki last week, and his dud lost me the game.
He killed me in multiple leagues.
He killed me because I was thinking the Ravens are always susceptible to tight ends, so I was thinking, okay, he's definitely have a decent game. Nothing. So I'm still gonna go with Gesicki. I think him and Tua a little bit more better connection. I feel like so with Tua starting, getting into more of a rhythm. I feel like maybe he can get some of those early throws, those early catches, and then just kind of build from there. I know Tua, those are easy throws for him, the middle of the field, those intermediate throws. So I'm gonna go with Gesicki just from that standpoint. I feel like he bounces back today.
Breaking news: Lamar Jackson's out.
Yeah, and like I said, it was just more than likely it was trending that way. They were trying to hold on hope. But I figured he was.
But Ray, I love pain. I hate myself. Mike Gesicki. I'm just gonna do it. Why not?
Wow.
Whatever. I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I don't care. I love the pain. I love getting zeros. I like it. Whatever.
I'm just petty like that.
I think Mike Gesicki's just too much involved. Dawson Knox, he really sees a very small target share of the actual passing downs. But he does see it in the red zone, so there's always that upside. But I just think Mike Gesicki sees too much volume, even in a standard, to not start him at this point.
I mean, it was the
So I'm gonna
Giants
roll
that,
with
or the Jets that just held him to one catch last week. So
your point.
what if
Did
they
they
do the same
hold
with Mike
him,
Gesicki?
or is it just the fact that the Jets' corners are just so bad that they just were? I think that game was, hey, let's get Stephon Diggs right. So they just kept peppering Stephon Diggs. And do the Dolphins have Stephon Diggs? No, they have Jalen Waddle. So I still think I like Mike Gesicki.
I'm just saying.
He also has Ray has Randy Bullock. He has the tight end question. He explained it out, but he has starting a kicker with the weather. Randy Bullock versus the Texans, or he has Greg Joseph versus the Packers. So they're
I'm on NFL weather right now, and all I see for weather is overcast. I don't know if anybody's seen anything different for the Titans Texans game. So if that's the case, I'm still rolling with Randy Bullock. I feel like that the Titans offense should see plenty of opportunities to score points in one way or another. So I think he's projected over like 10 points in most sites. So I'm going to roll with him.
Yeah,
but Greg
I'm
Jones
still
is not
in
a
with.
bad option.
Yeah, I'm still in with Randy Bullock. He's been really good all year as far as kickers go. So
Yes.
Same here, Bullock. He's just been consistent, and sometimes with kickers and fantasy, you go with consistency. So I'm going with Bullock.
Oh, wow. And this hurts me. Kenny Gainwell is inactive with Miles Sanders active. So if you're planning on starting Kenny Gainwell, like me, in some very, very deep hurt dynasty rosters, don't do it.
Man, what happened? Has anybody heard anything of what happened with him? Because how do you go from a 30+% snap share to being a healthy scratch?
I think it has to do something with this their trust in him. You know, with rookie running backs, there's a lot more involved than just target share and far as volume of carries. I feel like it's pass pro. It's picking up on slide protections. It's being consistent and being where you need to be at. So I think a lot of it is probably he's lost some trust from the coaching staff, and maybe it's some plays that we can't even really visually understand what's going on from TV perspective, but maybe based on the scheme and based on the kind of just the overall architecture of plays that maybe he's lost some trust in the coaching staff. I mean, because there's no injury, I don't feel like, so it has to be that. You know, Miles Sanders is playing better, so that might have something to do with it as well. But him being inactive today as a healthy scratch, that probably lets me know that he's just right now the coaching staff just don't trust him a lot right now. But probably
he doesn't play. I don't think he plays special teams either, so that hurts him.
And that really hurts a running back, a rookie running back. You don't play any special teams, that really hurts your value. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I'm an advocate for pushing that on Twitter. A lot of people I know, JTRB1, Spence, you and me have had some heated discussions on this. But I believe that pass protection is a really big part of the game, and especially when you're looking at running backs for pure opportunity. And I understand if you're a good pass blocker, you're not going out for the passing routes. However, your only way to get on the field is to be able to pass block. We saw it too with Brandon Bolden when Damian Harris went down. And James White went down. Everybody's like, yeah, Ramondre Stevenson, J.J. Taylor, guys who struggled in the pass blocking sort of, and Brandon Bolden took that over. Tyson Williams is another guy there in Baltimore, another guy that struggles in pass protection. He's a great runner. He does well, struggles in pass protection, got passed up for Latavius Murray, who they brought in, and Devontae Freeman. It's just a thing that people sometimes overlook as fantasy managers, just because, Kenny Gainwell's a very talented running back, but if he can't block and he misses pass protections, like you said, you lose trust in that. They don't want their quarterback getting killed. They're gonna take that and they're gonna put a guy in there like, we'll say Miles Sanders, who can pass block, who has equal upside. Even as sad as it sounds, to put Jordan Howard in there because they know he's going to get that block. He's going to lay it. He's going to do what he has to, and then you can trust your wide receivers to make the plays or tight ends.
It's a very underrated aspect of offensive like utility is running back, pass pro. And like I said, the most valuable position in any NFL or any football team anyway is quarterback. So you want to protect that valuable asset at all costs. And if you're at any risk of, putting the devaluing that aspect of that asset with just poor protection, pass protection, then you're going to fall out of favor with the coaching staff. So,
Ray Gamer has just checked the weather for the Titans-Texans game, and Yahoo says there's not supposed to be rain anymore, but the wind is 11 miles per hour. Yeah, I'm still fine with starting Randy Bullock. Yeah. I mean, Greg Joseph isn't a bad start either, though, if you're really concerned with the weather, because I could see the Viking kicking a lot of field goals against the Packers. So I don't hate it, Ray, if you want to make that pivot. I don't know about you guys, but I like Bullock better. But if you're really worried about the weather, Ray, I don't hate going to Joseph. Do you guys agree? Or
no, I'm still going Bullock. But like you said, if you want to take the risk, or if you want to make that switch, definitely I'm okay with Joseph. But I'm probably riding with Bullock just because of consistency.
So we have lineup is Tua, Diggs, Keenan Allen, Cook, Chubb, Gesicki, Montgomery, Bullock, and Panthers defense versus Washington. But my opponents had the Pats defense this week. I'm assuming that's an emoji that doesn't show up on my PC. And Hunter Henry only got 25 yards. Yeah, I still like. The rest of his opponent's lineup is Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Davonte Smith, Swift, Mixon, Ingram, and Tyler Bass.
It's an 8-team league. 16.
That could be a 10-team league. Seems like a 10-team lineup. Yeah. I mean, it's really, I think, Ray, it's up to you. I think you're at a pretty draw with Greg, Joseph, and Randy Bullock. Yeah, 10-team. Yeah, I think it's pretty much a coin flip. So, like I said, if you're really worried about the weather, I don't blame you for starting Joseph. But I don't know if you're really gaining an advantage either way. Do you guys feel differently? I know. No? Yes, no?
No.
Yeah.
Not agree.
No, we're good.
LDS sports cards, Burrow or Rodgers? Ooh.
This is Burrow for me with that toe injury to Rodgers. I don't know if Austin. I don't know. Do you know what foot that is on? Is it on his plant foot or?
I want to say it was his plant foot, so it's going to be on his right foot, I believe. I want to say. I haven't double checked that, but if we checked it right now, I'm almost certain it's the right foot.
Yeah. Either way, I still like Burrow here. They're saying that toe injury is pretty significant. He is expected to play, and he did show up at the stadium, and he's expected to start and play. But I would just rather take the guy that has just as much upside that's without the injury concern. So for me, it's Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I agree. I like Joe Burrow. Even though Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, but I like Joe Burrow. I think the upside's still there. They're similar to me. They're close for me in rankings, and all year they've kind of just always been right neck and neck. So I'll take the guy that's uninjured with better offensive weapons, in my opinion. So
I would definitely agree. Clean sweep. Like I said, injury. I think they're going to lean heavy. Like I said, even over the last couple of weeks, you can see them lean really heavy on that running game in Green Bay. So I think they like the offensive line. I think they're trying to definitely win the line of scrimmage in the battle of the trenches. I think they're trying to become a more offensive team. So I can see them definitely kind of utilizing a lot of the run-based offense today. So with it, I mean, limiting opportunities for Rodgers, so I go with Burrow as well.
We have Connor, Gibson, or Wilson.
Assuming this is Jeff Wilson.
See, that's what you could see, or it could be Cedric Wilson. So, Connor, could you answer onto the Wilson? I'm assuming it's Jeff, like you said. So if that's the case, Connor, I'm taking Jeff Wilson over Antonio Gibson against a very good Panthers front seven. I just don't like that matchup. I know that Gibson just did well against, it's Jeff Wilson. So I know Gibson did well against Tampa Bay, but overall, as a grand scheme of the game, he really didn't. He only really had like 37 yards, I think. It was a really low total.
64.
Was it 64?
He only averaged 2.6 a carry.
Okay, that's what it was. I remember there was something that was really, really low, and I was like, ugh. So he wasn't very effective on the ground. He just saw a ton of carries, and then he was able to score twice. That could, in fact, happen again. Highly unlikely, though. And I like Jeff Wilson. We saw what he could be as a lead back last year. He won many of us fantasy leagues last year. So I like Jeff Wilson. Elijah Mitchell's pretty doubtful. I'm pretty sure he's going to be inactive if he isn't already. And I'm going to take that against a weak Jags defense over Gibson in a tough matchup.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to go with Wilson here as well. I said last week on this show that if Gibson got through this week and next week performing well, I would start to trust him again. So this is my final week to see what he does on trusting him. I'm still not like dropping him by any means or anything like that, but I still like Wilson just based off of the matchup and just how that offense likes to operate. So I'm gonna roll with Jeff Wilson here as well.
And clean sweep. I like Jeff Wilson as well. I just really think it's gonna be a tough matchup for the Redskins today. I think they're gonna be stifled by the Panthers.
Yeah, I think Washington got the benefit of both teams came off a bye last week. I think Washington just was able to prepare more for that offense, and it was a shock game. It was a trap game almost for Tampa Bay, I feel like, more so than Washington being that, And for some reason, Washington's always played Tampa tough. We saw it last year in the playoffs.
They did.
They had confidence going into that, so.
I think a lot of it is their front. I feel like their front gives their offensive line some troubles. And I think because they're a very physical group in Tampa, but I think Washington is just as physical. So I think that kind of levels the playing field a little bit. And then I think that causes a little bit of offensive setback for Tampa when they play them. So.
Yeah, fair. LDS Sports Cards also has Mike Evans or Leonard Fournette in flex. It's tough. Two good guys.
I got Fournette here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I want Fournette. Just based on the workload. He's gonna see. He's clearly become the guy there. Ronald Jones has become an afterthought. Even Giovanni Bernard has seen a little bit of run, but not a ton. Leonard Fournette's kind of taken over that workhorse. He sees almost all of it. So I'm going to take that over Mike Evans, who's battling with guys like if Gronk comes back. If Gronk comes back, Mike Evans is really going to lose that touchdown upside. I feel like once they're in the red zone, Brady just trusts Gronk a lot. So he might lose that. Godwin's there. There's a lot of weapons and a lot of tangibles to Mike Evans, who might see Bradbury for most of the game. So I'll take Fournette. Just seems a little safer.
And if you look at what the Giants have done so far this year, they're allowing over 4.5 yards per carry to running backs, or 27th in PPR points allowed to running backs. So in a game where Mike Evans faces Bradbury, should see a shadow coverage on him. Evans has, I remember hearing from ESPN, Mike Clay doing his wide receiver cornerback matchups. Evans has traditionally struggled against guys like Bradbury in terms of how they play. So I'm going to go with Fournette here. I just feel like with Gronk likely to be back, like you said, Jeremy, I just don't see the touchdown upside that he had before, and Godwin has been extremely involved despite the injury. So I'm going to go with Fournette there.
I would agree.
Yeah, I feel like Godwin's kind of become like that Danny Amendola, but a little bit better talent-wise.
A little bit better.
I don't want to diminish what Danny Amendola and Julian Edelman have done, but just saying. To replace Kyler Murray, Big Ben or Tyrod Taylor? Jim, I'm gonna chase Tyrod Taylor. I think. I think Taylor against Tennessee is interesting. Like we said, their defense is pretty poor against wide receivers, and they don't really have much of a run game there in Houston. And I think it's going to struggle against that front there. So they might use Tyrod Taylor to kind of get his legs moving a little bit. Maybe they use him a little bit in some option, kind of alter that run game. And I think they just might pass a lot. I think you could see a big game for Brandon Cooks, possibly even Nico Collins this week. So I think I'm going to chase that. I think just the rushing floor, the rushing touchdown upside there is pretty big. Where Big Ben, you might see a lot of the ground game there with Najee Harris. So I think I'm just going to chase Taylor. I know what Ben's going to give me. He's going to give me a very low QB2 performance. That's just kind of where he's been all week or all year. Where I feel like Tyrod Taylor could easily give us a QB1 with a couple rushing touchdowns, and if he has a big game through the air against a weak Tennessee secondary.
Yeah, the volatility of Big Ben is just tough to kind of not consider. So, like I said, like you said, for all the right reasons, I'm going with Tyrod as well. Like you said, Tennessee is struggling on defense. I think his ability to use his legs to get out of some precarious situations is going to be ideal in this matchup. And I feel like he has a higher success rate overall for today's game. So I'm going Tyrod.
Yeah, I got Tyrod here as well. Tennessee is, despite playing better as of late, they're still 28th in terms of PPR or in terms of points to quarterbacks. Like I said earlier, they're still last to wide receivers, and they have a very solid one in Brandon Cooks. I think Nico Collins has also been solid and is kind of not really shallower league viable, but he's been at least deeper league viable in terms of target volume. He's seen consistent target volume. So I like Tyrod here more, even though Big Ben probably has better weapons. I just think they rely on Najee a lot. And although I wouldn't be surprised if Najee does see a lot of passes and he is able to get some yak yardage and help Big Ben out, but I just like Tyrod Taylor overall better this week.
Some just updates on some inactives that we talked about earlier. For the Bears, you have Eddie Jackson, Hicks, and Robinson out. And then you already know Mack is out. So a lot of their heavy defensive playmakers are sitting the Bears. So I honestly expect a decent game from Huntley. And then like we talked about Bateman, I just feel like when you remove those level of high level players on each for the defense, and there's going to be some openings there. So I think Bateman actually will have a good game just because a lot of those injuries. And then Donovan Peoples-Jones is out as well.
Really?
I don't know if anybody. Yep, he's out as well. And then, as we know, Curtis Samuels, Antonio Gandy Golden are both out. So look for the Washington Redskins, or I'm sorry, the Washington football team to struggle there as well. And then also we talked about Fields. There's only 3 healthy cornerbacks for the Ravens today, which are Humphrey, Chris Westry, and Tavon Young. Those are the only 3. So again, look for Fields to have some success from more of the explosive play aspect, just because you really only have one solid cornerback over there. Anthony Averett is out with thigh injury. So Fields, I feel like Fields is a decent play for QB1 today just because of the injuries. And then also I feel like Bateman and Huntley will be successful. So I think both teams might be able to move the ball just from the defensive injury perspective from the Ravens and Chicago game. So look at that as a sleeper game. For if you have some players in that game, I feel like that might be a sleeper game where you can get some decent numbers and get some decent value for some of those players there.
I like it. See the insight. LDS says, thank you guys. You're welcome. Ray Gamer says, so he's going to go as 10-team standard scoring. He's going to roll out Tua, Diggs, Keenan Allen, Cook, Chubb, Gesicki, Montgomery, and Bullock, and the Panthers D. I like it. And then he said, have a good weekend. Everybody, good luck. You as well. Also said, gave you a like. Thank you. Much appreciated if you want. And then Jim R has, thank you guys. Great show. So it seems like our questions have dried up.
Thank you,
So
sir.
Ryan, your favorite part when
We
I just
do got-
surprise you with random questions.
I see. I don't know. Did you put them on here? There's 2 Twitter questions.
Oh no, I didn't. See, you're the Twitter guy. You gotta follow that. I actually that hasn't been dubbed, but now I'm dubbing it to you now because I didn't pay attention. So,
All right.
so my lack
So
of attention has now dubbed you the Twitter guy. So now you handle it all.
Twitter guy, Ryan.
I'm just gonna put them in the comments real quick.
All right. Question
So
1.
we got Dan Arnold or Mike Gesicki this week. Did not say if it was PPR or not. I don't know.
I don't think it
know
matters
if
for me. I'm taking Mike Gesicki. I like the matchup. Austin alluded to it a little earlier. Tua to Gesicki is a great connection that they have. I know that Gesicki's burned us a couple times with some zeros, but tight end, so meh. That I'll take it. The matchup for Dan Arnold against the 49ers isn't great. He should see a good target share, but I just like Gesicki's upside better. I think he could see a 20-plus point game if it's tight end premium or anything like that. So where Dan Arnold's not there. Like Dan Arnold doesn't have the ceiling that Mike Gesicki does. Dan Arnold's safe. He's a good 7-8 point type play, but Gesicki could easily, like I said, give you 20 to 30 depending on scoring formats. So I'm in on Gesicki. Like I said earlier, I love to get hurt multiple times.
Clearly. Austin, what
Just
about
can't
you?
quit him.
Yeah, I'm going Gesicki as well. So I just like the upside there. And like I said, I feel like even the red zone target share is going to be a little bit greater there as well. So I'm going Gesicki.
That leaves you, Ryan.
I'm going to go with Gesicki for one more week.
I've convinced you.
But if he burns me again, I'm done with him. Depending on my options.
Say that. You can't say
depending on my options, relax. But Dan Arnold, like you said, Jeremy, he's heavily involved in the passing game, probably has a safer floor. Actually, he obviously has a safer floor. But Gesicki's ceiling is much higher. So I'm going to take that upside there. But like I said, the range of outcomes is 0 to 20. And Arnold's range of outcomes is probably 8 to 14. So just kind of depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for safe guaranteed points, I'd roll with Arnold. If you are looking for the upside play, I'm taking Gesicki. Michael Pittman or Michael Gallup. For me, I'm going with Michael Gallup this week against Kansas City. Like higher scoring game, what should be a higher scoring game. Buffalo's number 1 in terms of points allowed to quarterbacks, points allowed to running backs, points allowed to wide receivers, and they're 5th in tight end scoring. So just that offense in general could struggle. I know Tremaine Edmonds is out. I believe Star Lotulelei is out as well. So I would expect that to help the running game more than anything else. So I would expect them to lean on JT quite a bit. And Pittman will likely have trouble against Trey White in the Bills secondary.
Yeah, I like Michael Gallup still. It's tough to sit Pittman because of what he's done.
Yeah.
But the matchup is very unlikely. I would probably look at, like you said, like sometimes we allude to, like the rest of your roster.
Yep.
If you could risk seeing a dud from Michael Pittman, his upside I feel like might be just a little bit higher. But I don't know, man. I really like Michael Gallup in this matchup. He's proven that when he gets an opportunity, he can ball out. And I just feel like that Chiefs game's going to get out of control, and there's going to be a lot of passing. So
It's the fact that Cooper's out. Like if Cooper was playing, this decision would be a lot easier. But he's out, and they're going to have to throw. So I don't know. He's good. Gallup's a good wide receiver. So it's not like you're trying to choose between him and Marcus Johnson or something like that. It's a solid player on a very good offense and a very good matchup. So makes it a little bit easier to bear. But I agree, the upside is higher with Pittman.
I would say upside higher with Pittman, but like I said, I like Gallup in that matchup literally because of shootout. And I think he's very important to that offensive scheme, as you can see. And, Dak loves throwing the ball around. And then Amari Cooper's out as well. So Amari Cooper being out, I think Gallup's going to get his targets and his share. So I like Gallup just from, like I said, it's a shootout. And then Cooper out, those targets are going to have to be spread out and dispersed between Gallup, Schultz, and possibly CeeDee Lamb. So I'm going to go with Gallup.
I agree.
Ryan, your job has been done. Well done. You're still the
Thank
Twitter
you very
guy,
much.
though. Jim R, in a super
fine.
flex league, I lost Lamar Jackson to illness today. Do I pick up quarterback like Trevor Lawrence off of waiver wire, or someone dropped Myles Gaskin?
I honestly would pick up Tyler Huntley. I honestly think he's going to have a decent game. Our running game struggles. I feel like Huntley's going to have again, and I'm just saying that because the Bears are missing key guys from very important parts of the defense. Eddie Jackson's out, Akeem Hicks out, and then you got Khalil Mack out. Those are very, very, very important aspects of a defense, from secondary to front edge rusher, and then also a very powerful interior defensive lineman. So I honestly think Huntley will have good success. I honestly think Huntley has a little bit more upside than Trevor Lawrence today, personally. If you have to make a quick, waiver wire, I don't know who else is available, but if it's like down to nitty gritty, I would pick up Huntley.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably just take Trevor Lawrence on the basis that I think that there's just more talent there overall. Because they're very similar, like you said, Austin. I have them like neck and neck as far as what they're going to be probably this week. But I feel like the upside's higher with Trevor Lawrence just because of pure talent. So I'm just going to take Trevor Lawrence.
But then the other thing is the athletic ability. Tyler Huntley is not a Lamar Jackson. But if you see some of the way he moves, he's pretty elusive. Watching him over the preseason, he is not like a slouch as far as like his elusiveness, his ability to run some of those same quarterback reads of Lamar Jackson. It's the closest a clone you're going to get. So
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm,
yeah,
so.
I like that take. You know what I mean? Like I like saying that because I would agree with that too. I think that the offense will look very similar to what they had to do.
Yes.
Ryan?
I think I'm still picking up Trevor Lawrence, to be honest with you, just because Huntley could be like a guy that is a poor version of Lamar Jackson, but San Francisco is still 27th against quarterbacks to start for season long. They obviously play the Rams tough, but they always play the Rams tough. They seem to kind of have their number. So I think I'd still roll with Trevor Lawrence. I'm not gonna pick up a guy like Myles Gaskin and put him in my super flex spot. I just don't work my leagues like that unless it's like a bona fide stud that I have to place in my super flex with guys on buys or hurt or whatever. So I think I'm still gonna chase Trevor Lawrence here. I'm just not willing to start a guy like Huntley over Trevor Lawrence when it's his first career start. That's just not something that I would do personally. So I'm not going to say to do that if I want to do it personally. So I would go with Trevor Lawrence.
I like it. I agree. But I don't hate the Huntley take, Austin. I'm not hating.
No, it's a fair take. I'm just saying I don't want to give advice that I wouldn't personally take myself. That's just how I am.
And I agree. And I'm not, and I, obviously I'm rocking all this Raven stuff, so I might think I'm home. But I am getting a little insight because I watch him every week, and I watch preseason. I'm like faithful, but like I really do think he's a solid option if you're in like a situation like that for sure. I think he's just a solid option.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I don't hate it. I just lean towards. I really like Trevor Lawrence. I liked him coming out, and I just feel like there's talent there. I just think he's been going through rookie struggles, so I'm just I'm being a little bit more of a homer even than you. Not even consider Taylor Huntley just because I'm like, I like Trevor Lawrence too much. So,
but also, I was also saying that based on availability, like certain, a lot of times Trevor Lawrence is not available on waiver wire, but on your situation, he is. So if there are any other people out there that like, oh man, they're not Trevor Lawrence is out there, I just would not be scared to pick up Huntley. You don't have a lot of options.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I like that. So. M. Hart has pick one: Tony, Sanders, or Claypool PPR.
Now Sanders, we're talking about.
You guys
I'm talk about. Miles.
It's Emmanuel Sanders.
Oh, Emmanuel. Okay. I'm going Tony then. I think healthy, he gets a lot of targets. He has great elusiveness, great lateral agility, and I feel like he's just an explosive player. So again, a lot of his based on schematic kind of involvement and then also health. But if those two match up, then Tony.
Ryan?
Go with Emmanuel Sanders just because of his big playability, but they got Gabe Davis involved because he was there's a lot of fantasy analysts in general this year, so maybe that is the start of something for him. I think I'm going to go with Tony here, to be honest with you, just how he's utilized when he's been in the lineup and been active. I feel like they want to get him involved in a game against Tampa that should be high scoring on Tampa's. Then they're probably going to have to throw to keep up. I know Galladay's back, but I just think how there's Kadarius Toney when he's fully healthy, and in a tough matchup against the Chargers with Big Ben starting after not practicing all week and having COVID, and I just don't trust that enough. So upside play at Toney of this one.
Yeah, I think if you're feeling risky, M. Hart, I would take Tony. I think the upside's huge there as long as he stays healthy in the game. Claypool feels safest to me. I think he's going to see that involvement. No Juju, obviously, who we've seen. And then you're going to have – there's usually one wide receiver who kind of goes off with the Chargers. It might end up being Deontay Johnson. He kind of fits that mold a little better. But Claypool could see a good game. But he feels safer. You know what I mean? He's going to see the targets. He's going to get some points. Where Tony's been pretty safe, though. So it's tough. I just don't know if Tony finishes the game. He's gotten hurt every single game, basically. So it's dicey. But I would probably take Tony. I like kind of what Ryan had said. That game should be a little bit more high scoring. Daniel Jones always likes to ball out on Monday Night Football. So why can't Kadarius Toney? So I like it. I'd take it there. Jim R. has a Huntley question. Austin, it seems like you have made an impact. Would you start Huntley over Tyrod Taylor? His opponent has Brandon Cooks. Yes. Personally, I have him like neck. I'd probably start Taylor. But Austin, I'll let you take the floor.
In this situation, I would definitely start Taylor just because of the fact of the Tennessee's defense is struggling. I mean, the last couple of weeks, they've been really struggling. But like you said, your opponent does have Brandon Cooks, but I still don't think that matters as much in this situation. So I give the slight nod to Taylor. Is that game at home? Is it in Houston or in Tennessee?
I think it's in Tennessee.
So they're both on the road. I would go with Taylor just because he's a veteran. Huntley, obviously, is his first career start, so I would go give you a slight knock, Taylor.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'm still going Taylor. Just because, like you said, Huntley's first career start, and even though Tyrod had a bad week last week, if Cooks has a big game, Tyrod has to be involved with that. So I'm going to stick with Tyrod there.
Hunter Renfrow or Michael Pittman? Was that a gong?
No, I hit my my glass table.
Oh.
Yeah, I have a glass table and I hit it, and it does sound like that.
Should I start Renfrow or Pittman? Ryan? Cody? Wants your help. You're the Renfrow guy, so Ryan, you're going to start us off. You're always in for him.
He loves Renfrow.
I do love Hunter Renfrow. He sees so many targets. Like, how can you not like him?
I didn't say I didn't like him. You just like him.
I'm just thinking in general. How can you not like him? He's got 7 catches the last 3 games, last straight games. For me, this depends 1,000% on my lineup. Because I think Pittman has more upside, but Renfrow is a much safer option. If you need to chase the upside, I'm going to start Pittman. If you are looking for safe, guaranteed points, I'm starting Hunter Renfrow.
I agree 100%. Austin?
I am going to go with Pittman as well. I like Pittman just from the upside perspective. Yes, Renfrow is going to give you a solid floor, but touchdown upside, explosive play upside, I'm going with Pittman.
I like it. Starting Deebo Samuel, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. I have Brandon Cooks and Bateman on the bench. Should I adjust anything based on matchups?
No. Those 3 alone are probably the most upside receivers you can have on any fantasy lineup. So, yes.
Yeah. I get the concern with some of the matchups. They're not great, but they're too talented to bench.
Yeah, upside alone.
I'll take a 0 from Justin Jefferson on my starting lineup with Cooks getting me 15. Just because Jefferson could give you 30. You never know.
In situations like that, you just keep those 3 on the active and just roll the dice. Like, you always just – I know you got Cooks on the bench, so I know it sucks. You're like, oh, my gosh. But those 3, if I had those 3, I'm always keeping them unless they're bye. The only time I'm putting Cooks in is on the bye. Other than that, I'm keeping those 3 all times.
I agree.
Jim R. has Bateman or Tony PPR.
I'm going with the Batman. I think he's going to have a good game, man. He's a really – honestly, as a Ravens fan, we suck at drafting receivers forever. And I think they really actually honestly hit on Bateman and on Hollywood. So I think Batman's going to have a good game. I think him and Huntley, he's going to be a very good outlet for Huntley. So I'm going with Bateman.
Man, this tugs at the heartstrings for me. I think, yeah, why not? I'll roll with Bateman. I've liked him long enough.
Man, good job, Jeremy. Come on, Ron, bring it home with the sweet, baby.
I've been a Bateman guy since day 1 of the draft. I thought he was the second best receiver, so I'll still stay with it. I think Tony has good upside, but even without Jackson, I'm probably starting Bateman out of these 2. Ryan?
I am going to go with Bateman here as well. And the reason why is because I feel like the Ravens just have less weapons to go to in this one. With Marquise Brown being out, it's going to be Bateman and Sammy Watkins and Mark Andrews. And I don't have a whole lot of faith in Sammy Watkins, to be honest with you. So I feel like Bateman's going to be the guy. I'm pretty sure he's led the team in targets basically every game since he's been healthy. So I'm going to go there, but I do like the upside of Tony. So either one I think is fine, to be completely honest with you.
I like it. All right. Brian, I know you have like 58 lineups to set.
Yeah, he does.
You
got more than anybody. I think you got more lineups than anybody I know. I'll be struggling with my 5. I'm like,
yeah, I'm gonna dump a ton of leagues this offseason. And if you're a commissioner in a league that I play in and you heard that, I apologize. I hate to be that guy, but it's got to happen. I do too much now, like with these shows and stuff like that. That
gotta trim the fat, man.
It's too hard. There's leagues that I'm very inactive in, and I don't like it for myself, and I don't like it for the league. So I'm gonna have to, just because like I play in a lot of dynasty leagues, and it takes a lot of time and effort to begin with. So
I agree.
But I'm in 27, and I picked up 2 more. Did 2 mid-season drafts.
But how competitive are you in those 27? Like ones that you're like you have a chance of like winning. Like, what would you say?
I was keeping track of my overall record, but it just got to be too much to do that. There is, let's see here.
I think I'd say I have like 5. I'm in like very similar number.
In?
Yeah, like 27 leagues. I have like 5. But I also lost I also have like 28 teams that have like average, I would say, 8 guys on IR. So it's been a year that like my teams have just been hit really hard with injuries. You know, I have Ridley in almost every league. I have Dobbins in almost every league. And so like, you know, where you're drafting those guys, my team's not very good around them. I mean, they're decent, but like I lost my top receiver, my top running back in almost every league. So it just kind of put a damper on the season. The only leagues that I am still competitive in is like longer standing dynasty leagues because I have more around those 2 guys. So
I just calculated it up. In 19 leagues, I'm projected to be in the playoffs. So
that's 19. Not competitive, Ryan.
What?
Because you're in doesn't mean you're going to win. Do you think you can win with all 19 of them? I mean, I could probably make it in with 19 because like all my teams are like 5-5, but I don't think I'm going to win in any of those.
With over half of them, yes, I will have a chance at winning. Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. All right, Austin's on the move, but either way,
I feel like I'm in a like one of those found footage horror film.
And a fiance talking about like wedding plans down there.
Well, we're gonna let you get back to it because we're gonna sign off because I got like a ton of lineups to set. So Ryan does. But
hey, happy Thanksgiving to y'all. See y'all next Sunday. Next Sunday? We're good, right? Thanksgiving holiday. Y'all staying in town? Y'all traveling anywhere?
Nah, I just got to go up the road, you know.
Yeah, me too. So eat a lot of turkey, whatever y'all like. Enjoy the family, and then watch some football, and then we'll see y'all on next Sunday.
Yeah,
happy
for sure.
fantasy football day.
Austin, take care.
Yes, sir, fellas.
Go
Bills, I guess. You know.
Yeah, go Ravens.
Yeah, there we go. My man. Liam Bateman. I hope they don't let me down because on next Sunday I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna let people know if I was right or wrong. I'm gonna eat the crow if I have to. So they don't let me down today.
All right. Take care, Austin.
All right.
Mike Williams or Jeff Wilson, real quick, Ryan, before we sign off. You got us. Just before we said the goodbyes.
What is happening?
I'm trying to change it. I missed it. Click the wrong button. All right, relax.
Man.
I'm taking Jeff Wilson. Upside to me feels the same. Also with a safer floor. But Ryan likes Mike Williams. He still wants to be hurt. He thinks that I am the one who's crazy for wanting to start Mike Gesicki in a tight end field. It's barren wasteland. Mike Williams, you got like 35 other options.
Mike Williams is tied to Justin Herbert,
who's been not great. He hasn't been great this year. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying right now he ain't playing great.
You're not playing great.
I don't play football, so yeah, I agree. Definitely
Man,
don't start me.
Don't put Jeremy in your lineup. So that is what we're getting at. I'm gonna go with Jeff Wilson as well. Matchup against Jacksonville is really, really good, even though they're allowing less than 4 yards a carry for the year. I'm still gonna take just how that offense operates. I'm gonna roll with Jeff Wilson, but I love the upside of Mike Williams. I don't think you can go wrong either way. But if you have to pick one, I would go with Jeff Wilson just because there's more ways for him to get involved.
I like it. All right, one more. Sea-Dog, Knox, or Freiermuth?
Knox for me with Ebron coming back and Big Ben not necessarily being fully healthy.
Yeah, I like Dawson Knox. I think the matchup lends pretty good for him. The Colts have been a little bit weaker against tight ends.
Yep.
So, yeah, I like it. I think there might be a touchdown in forecast for Dawson Knox, so I'll take it. All right, Ryan. It's that time, unfortunately. We have to say goodbye. So why don't you let everybody know where they can find you and any parting words.
You find me on Twitter at Mackie_FFB. Feel free to continue sending start-sit questions into inbox or just comment on. I will post something here in a minute asking for start-sit questions, so feel free to continue doing that. I do have 27 or 29 lineups now to set, so I'll be busy finishing that up. But
you want some more?
No.
I'll give them to you.
But yeah, good luck to everybody. Hopefully we were able to help you guys out. I know some of the questions were kind of toss-ups, to be honest with you, but hopefully we are continuing to do you guys a justifiable service anyways. So good luck and continue to reach out.
Love it. Love all the words. Same. Twitter's at PopesFFH. Feel free to reach out. Start sit questions, trades. We're here every Tuesday as well every Sunday. Tune in, and until next week, good luck. Hopefully we get at least a couple wins.